afternoon, good evening, good morning, whenever you're watching. Welcome to Coaching for Coaches. I'm your host, Miles Grant, founder of Master Coach. And in today's coaching demo, we are joined by the amazing, magnificent Julie Francis. Julie, welcome. Great to have you here.
Thank you, Miles. It's great to get to spend this time with you this afternoon. So I'm excited to see where this is heading.
Different from being in a hotel in Croydon at the weekend, which sounds weird considering I'm married with 2 children. I'll leave it there. I'll let everybody else decide what that means. We'll leave it there. So, Julie, we've obviously had coaching sessions before, but I don't think this question loses any weight if it's asked and answered in the same way. So let's pretend that, let's just pretend it's 20 past, when is it? 4:30, whatever it is. Let's say we fast forwarded half an hour, and at the end of this call, you said like, oh my God, this has been amazing, exactly what I needed, incredible, insert whatever words you would say. What would have been the top headline thing that we'd have had to have spoken about for that to be true for you 30 minutes into the future?
I was having a bit of a think about this on the way here. Like, I wonder what he'll speak to me about, and so I was kind of thinking, so for me, I suppose it'll be like speaking sort of like goals out loud. And now there is a live recording of this, so like it's more of an accountability type of partner that I have now without realizing it. I feel like that, and then I feel like for me that's kind of like the most effective way to do a lot of things.
Cool. What's significant to you about speaking goals out loud?
Personally, I just feel like once you've done that, you've actually put it out into the universe, and then it's up to you. You've made a commitment then, not only to yourself but to whoever you've told. So in this circumstance, it's obviously yourself, Miles, and whoever else might happen to come across this. So like
the millions that will watch this broadcast.
So I mean, literally people all over the planet who will be watching this will be like, I'm gonna check up on that girl and see like if she did those things.
Yeah, absolutely. So here's a question. Maybe it might make you slightly uncomfortable, but in the right way. So because you've so well intellectualized it, the thing that would be really significant for you today is speaking out loud your goals. What's prevented you from doing that up until now?
I don't really know, to be honest. I mean, I know when we had our coaching session at the end of last year, obviously I wrote them down, but it's just, I suppose for me, I don't know, it's not really been something that's really come up too much. So I guess it's not really like a case of like shying away from it. It just hasn't been sort of like something that has naturally come up anywhere. So I'm not going to go around feeling like saying to people, hey, guess what? So it's just because it hasn't really been a natural progression anywhere. So I feel like if it had, I would have done it, but it hasn't so much. So
okay. So based on that, then, is speaking your goals out loud really, really the thing that would make this conversation extraordinary for you?
I mean, it's definitely be one of the things for sure.
But is that really the thing that we need to talk about? The reason I ask is because you've really eloquently explained the benefit of speaking your goals out loud. I've then challenged you on why have you not done that sooner, and you've really congruently said I haven't really thought about it until now, and I don't feel like I've gotten an answer that was a flaky answer that was really like, oh, because I'm scared about the world. Like I didn't feel any of that, so I didn't probe it any deeper. But I'm curious. I was like, well, because you've so eloquently said that, okay, so off you go, then go and do that. Like, what would really make this an extraordinary conversation for you? Because that kind of sounds like you know what to do with the speaking the goals out loud thing.
Mm.
So what do we really need to talk about?
I mean, I know where this is heading because obviously, like from my coaching training, like, but yeah, genuinely, like, if it was me, I would probably ask why. Why haven't you done that? And yeah, racking my brain, I guess, sort of like, I don't know. I suppose like maybe bottom line, it must come down to fear because I feel like, you know, Tony Robbins says like most things come down to that, you know, or some way. So I guess that's probably like the deep answer, the deep dive answer to that. But yeah.
So it is the speaking the goals out loud thing that is the thing that you most would be benefit to talk about.
And then also like for it, like it now has to be like I feel like once I've done that, and especially on this type of platform, then it has to I have to make it happen. I would feel quite obliged to the pressure. I would feel like, yeah, I should do that because now a lot of people, or the millions of people
3.8 million.
Did you say 3.5 million? Yeah, those people, they will be wondering.
Cool. So you said something earlier. You said, I know where this is going. That's what you said. I heard you say. So where is this going? You talked about the why. You said, I know the why, but and the fear and all that. So yeah. So talk to me more about that. Where is this going?
Well, normally in this circumstances, I feel like a lot of coaches would just keep asking you that same sentence until like you generally it triggers.
Cry.
Yeah, cry, run away, have a technical difficulty.
Get to a daddy issue.
Yeah. So I mean, it could be a number of things, but yeah, I feel like until like you might until they kind of dig deeper, and a lot of people it is, and often most of the time it is something much more bigger than going on than a small surface issue.
Yeah. So I had a call earlier, similar kind of conversation, but we were talking about modeling patterns of behavior where we're good in one area and not good in another. And how we don't need to reinvent the wheel. We need to look at what's the recipe that's working in that area and how can we apply that. So where is there an area of your life, Julie, where you have spoken your goals out loud and it's been congruent, it's felt good for you? Where have you done that before?
Yeah, I've done that sort of like as part of like another sort of like business community that I'm part of. So I feel like I did that at some point last year. And yeah, that was quite good. They were kind of like, okay, sort of like everyone now has this accountability. They've said this out loud. This is, you know, it's kind of like you signed a contract.
And how did that go? How did that feel, speaking the goals out loud?
Yeah, I mean, it was, fine, really.
Okay.
It meant that like I just had to, I felt I had to get on and do them. Otherwise, I felt I would have let other people down then.
Okay. And where is there a time in your life where you can think of where you've spoken out loud or declared a goal and you either haven't achieved it or the pursuit of the goal hasn't gone according to plan, or someone that you hoped would validate your pursuit hasn't validated you? Where is there a time in your life where that sort of thing's happening?
Yeah, so I think sort of like for me, like something that's always just sort of like been a big problem is sort of the whole kind of tech issue with a lot of things. So there's a lot of things that I would like to do, but then I think, oh God, I just literally, it's so overwhelming. And then obviously I've maybe attempted to learn that skill, but because then I don't enjoy that skill, I've not really pursued sort of like on with it a bit more. So then I've kind of like spinned it off, if I'm honest.
Okay. Any other times?
Mm. No, I feel like for most people, isn't it? Like anything that they find difficult, they just don't do, or they take a very long time to do. And so I feel like, yeah, often it's like the difficulty of something, like you, or it just seems too enormous to you. Like, you know, even though you might have broken it down into sort of like, you know, very, very minor tasks, so that you're not overwhelmed. But yeah, I think it's still like then, yeah. And for me as well, it definitely like lack of enjoyment, like of something. I think, oh God, if I dread something, it's just gonna make me want to do it so much less than, yeah. So I know, like, you know, I'm not my own here. I know that all the millions of people watching are going to be like, yes, I hate doing admin, so I don't do it. I hate doing accounting, therefore I don't do it. And then it comes around to my tax return and the night before, avidly putting in all the details. So, I mean, yeah, so these are all just things that I feel like a lot of people will resonate with. Is there another time?
Let me ask you a different question.
Yeah.
Growing up, whose love did you crave the most, mum or dad?
Probably mum.
Okay. And who did you have to be to get mum's love and affection?
Probably someone who was more academic than what I was.
Okay. And when you say more academic than you were, when you think about your background in like being academic, was it in your eyes?
It was probably more that it just sat in the middle.
Okay. How do you think you were through your mum's eyes, that or that? Or?
I think she thinks I'm just in the middle. I think like because again, it was something like I was someone that enjoyed all the practical subjects and things at school. So therefore anything maths, science, they weren't for me. Drama, geography, English, that was more my jam. But like anything, yeah, I didn't really apply myself to those. So I think she was like, you're doing okay luckily, because you excel at those other things, but the things that you should excel at, you just don't put any energy and effort into because you don't enjoy them or they're hard for you. So yeah. And I think because she's quite academic herself, I think she was just like, all you need to do is just apply yourself more.
How much do you think, if at all, and you can tell me if you feel that it doesn't, how much do you feel that impacts your, let's call it, courage to speak out loud, project your goals and dreams to the world?
Yeah, I definitely would say to some extent, yeah, without a doubt. Yeah. I mean, you know, I wouldn't say hugely because luckily like the field my business in is in something thankfully I enjoy and it's not in that other sector. But yeah, so but yeah, I definitely like the other parts of things that I don't enjoy. I think should be like, well, you can just get on with them and if you applied yourself.
Okay. Tony Robbins has got this thing called old story, new story. And what he's talking about is thinking about an area of your life where you have maybe an old story still installed. It's like if you've ever seen any of those movies where they show an alternate ending, anything like that. So the old story is like the old ending and the new story is the new ending. And there's often actually movie producers have done like different types of endings that they've actually recorded. And then and then, you know, there's actually like Spielberg, I can't remember what film it was, Blade Runner. I think he had like 4 different endings and then he couldn't decide and then he picked one. But what the old story you speaking out loud, speaking goals out loud, what would you say is like a belief that you've had underneath that's maybe perhaps has held you back a little bit from speaking out loud and being more public about your goals and dreams? What's a belief that you've maybe been running and operating from until
Yeah,
now?
as well, like, I think because I'm one of those people that sort of like has dyslexia, so, and that wasn't diagnosed till I reached university, so it almost got picked up on at high school, but it was just becoming a thing then, and they wasn't quite sure if that's what I had, but then they were like, we think that's what it is because your words, you write backwards some words, and obviously as soon as I got to university they realized that half this essay is written in reverse. So obviously, yeah, so I feel like that's when you have that. So if you are someone that like a dyslexia sufferer, then you'll know that, you know, like, so you'll find those tasks that for everyone else that like would take them 5 minutes, it's going to take you at least 10, 15, maybe even 20 on some days. So yeah, so I think sort of like, yeah, when you kind of know it's going to take you longer, it's going to be harder, you kind of allow yourself that excuse to some extent, which is, you know, not condoning it, but I know it is, you know, people just go, oh well, you know, I'm not doing it because I find that too, you know, difficult because I've got dyslexia. And yeah, so I feel like, and that's something probably I've allowed myself to say to myself more than I should.
So what could be a new, more empowering story that you could replace that with?
Yeah, I could say just because I've got dyslexia, it's not a big deal. I will be able to do it eventually. It's just going to take me a little bit longer.
What could be the gift? So let's assume that life is happening for us and not to us, and that there's a gift in everything, and it's not just a cliched saying, and that if we actually spend the time to really think it through, we would be able to find the diamond in the rough with everything. What could be even more empowering than what you just said in terms of dyslexia?
Yeah, that, you know, like most, I think you get taught that it's a huge weakness when really, I mean, yeah, it doesn't need to be like, it doesn't need to have that label. So I feel like, you know, I feel like now people, for example, that have ADHD and autism, they're now finally realizing that if they empower that label or box that they've given people that unfortunately that, you know, might feel that that might be something that holds them back, but if they change, they're starting to change the way they speak to people about that, and I feel like that's giving them, you know, it's changing the way they think about things, so it's stopping their limiting beliefs, you know, whereas they'll be like, oh well, actually that'll be my ADHD that stops me from doing that. Now because they've said it's your superpower, people are like, actually, oh okay, great. So I feel like, yeah, so, and I just feel yeah, so I feel like that is definitely something anyone that has dyslexia can tell themselves, like, yeah, actually, just it shouldn't be seen as a huge weakness, and it definitely shouldn't be seen as something that you know, stop yourself from doing things. I mean, I've never really let it stop myself from doing a lot of things. I did at one point think that university might be out of reach for me because it might just be too academic, even though I did do practical subjects. I did know that there would be a lot of written work and a lot of reading, but you know, I just got on with it. But yeah, there wasn't really the support there, which there is now. So I just feel like, yeah, obviously if you tell yourself a different story that's not a weakness, you know, you can use it to your advantage. What that would be, I'm not sure yet, but
What would you think if you went out for dinner with a person and they had all dessert before the main?
I think great. I love dessert, so.
So what if, yes, I love dyslexia as your superpower, but what if dyslexia is like having the dessert before the main?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, who actually ultimately decides that the order and sequence of things are actually right?
That's true. Yeah.
It all comes down to belief.
Mm. Yeah, definitely. And sort of, yeah, it is. Yeah, like I said, it's just, you know, like sort of, it's just something you get ingrained in me. And I remember sort of like, you know, being sort of told it, you know, my first week at university, so they picked up immediately from my first essay, and they were like, I don't think, you know, you've actually, they sent me off the test, and they were like, you have severe dyslexia. I don't know if like university is going to be for you. And I was like, what? Can't be, you know, I'm sure other people have managed to like achieve a degree that have dyslexia, but because they were still only finding out about it then, I think they were just like, I don't know, I think like, you know, you can't even notice that the words are around the wrong way. So they were like, you know, every essay you hand in, you probably have to rewrite 5 times. And I was like, oh, so be it then. But they didn't really see that attitude as, they just, yeah, didn't really see that as something that would be possible. But I think by the second year, I think they realised that there was no deterring me. So they were like, okay, fine. Like, you'll rewrite this essay 20 times. You will get until you get the formation of the words right. But yeah, but then obviously, you know, I learned a few tricks and it became easier. So.
Pep Guardiola is one of the best football managers in the world. Manages Manchester City. I don't know if you know that, but he is renowned for changing formation. His team won all the trophies last year that you could possibly win, and it looks like they're probably going to win all the trophies this year that you can possibly win. And probably one of the things that makes Pep Guardiola so good is his ability to recognize when it's time to change formation.
Right.
So how about also dyslexia is just a different formation?
Yeah.
And that actually it helps you to see the world a way that maybe other people maybe will never get the blessing of being able to see.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, yeah, when you sort of like read something, or for me anyway, I can't speak for everyone that maybe might have it, but yeah, so I'll read it once, and then I have to read it a second time. Yeah, and then just to sort of like rearrange it. But sometimes I think actually, I think it sounded better how I how I was reading it, which isn't actually what's written there. But yeah, and that's okay, I guess. It's not a big deal.
I think that's a really appropriate thing to take you off the coaching hot seat on. You just said, Julie, and that's okay, I guess. Isn't that an ode for life?
Yeah. Totally.
Whether it's dyslexia, ADHD, saying you're going to speak your goals out loud, that's okay, I guess.
I think we put so much pressure on ourselves sometimes in life, and then because we do that, that holds us back from doing a lot of things. You think, oh my God, must, you know, Rome, even though it wasn't built in a day, in the brains that we run on now with instant, everything has to be instant. I feel like we put, you know, people that are born in 2024 and this day and age where everything is instant at the top, you feel like you must achieve everything. Because why couldn't you? Because you have the technology there to do everything immediately. So why haven't you achieved these 300 things you've got written on your to-do list for today? Why have you only done 10? Hey, done 10.
Love that.
Because that's realistic and that's real life.
Very good. Very good. Julie Francis, I'm going to take you off the coaching hot seat.
Thank you.
Great to have you here with us today.
Thank you, Miles.
Well done, Julie. Great to see you.